in Steele County this afternoon here with Brandon Roller. Brandon, can you tell us a little bit in terms of why you got started into cover crops, soil health, and no-tilling in your farm?
It all originally started with trying to help conserve water on our sandy ground. We first started using cover crops there and seeing the benefits late in the season when we started running out of rain. And now we have started turning that into our saline, wetter areas to try get those into a better condition.
What made you decide to go into no-till with your entire farm? I mean, that's a pretty big decision to go from conventional till to no-till.
I guess it was watching our dirt blow away, some of it wash away, and help save our moisture when we get dry.
How has incorporating rye, whether used as a cover crop or a cash crop, helped you with your dry edible bean production?
Edibles after the rye is always good. It's a good soil, mellow soil for the edibles to grow in after. And then the cover crop side of it, we've seen some yield increase from the biomass of the rye and then the weed suppression. Thought that making the strips in the solid seeded rye, the root mass of the rye kind of made an ugly strip. So we went to twin row essentially, where we have 2 rows of rye 10 inches apart, and then we have a 20-inch gap, and then the 10-inch rye again. And we will strip till in between there in the 20-inch gap where we don't have to disturb any of the rye. It makes for a nicer, cleaner strip, and then having the rye between the rows helps cover the ground again for weed control. We usually terminate it right before planting when we put our pre-emerges on. We've just kind of started doing it, so I wouldn't say we've seen any results yet, but at least 3 years before we would consider it a success every year.
Before we came out here, we stopped by one of your other rye fields that you've planted this fall. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're going to be using that field for?
That field, we twin rowed our rye into in middle of August, and while we seeded the rye, we banded the P&K fertilizer between the rye rows, where we will come here this fall and strip till our nitrogen for next year's corn crop.
Talk a little bit more about weed suppression. Your dad had mentioned by incorporating this winter rye with your soybeans, you've had some pretty good success with weed control.
Yeah, it's helped hold the weeds down and the cover on top of the soil. We've been pretty much no-tilling our soybeans for the last few years, so having that cover on top of the ground helps keep the weeds from getting through.
What are some tips, tricks, advice that you would have for other farmers wanting to get into cover crops?
I guess I would just not be afraid to try it. That's the only way you're going to learn, is to try, and it might not always work, but that's how we learn.